Let's turn to an article in here, which Sexism and the Star System, which for many of my students and my colleagues is an incredibly important, both male and female, I should say, incredibly important article. So first of all, could you just say a bit about what you were doing in the article, and then whether you think anything has changed?
I was aware, South Africa had Roman Dutch law, and that meant a woman once married could not sign anything for herself. Her husband had to sign for her, and many things like that. And I had also a patriarch father who was a mixed character, to say the least, about these things. And so that was what I was fighting. And then at school, it was pretty good. South Africa, Wits University was very good about women, and so was the AA. They were a bit parental. When I was 3 weeks late for coming back from the spring vacation, they said, well, we were worried about you. They didn't do any more than that. At Penn, it would have been who knows what. Mm-hmm. But anyway, the point was, that was pretty nice. All the time, from a very early age, the things women are talking about now come on from men. I just said, men have feet of clay, but they were not the kind of thing they report about, this assault. They were just, you saw something in someone's eye, they might have said something, and then you just didn't say anything, and it went away, and you could still love them for what they were, even if you realized that your idols did have certain feet of clay. So that was my experience, luckily nothing more than that. But when Bob and I married, first of all, I'd had a big time getting my associate professorship out of UCLA. They said, join the family as an assistant professor. He almost said, my dear. He didn't say my dear. But he would never have said that to a man. In fact, they were offering a man about 5 years younger than me, with less written record than me, a full professorship. So I was very angry about this, and I began to write that article in anger. Mm-hmm. And they also said I hadn't published enough. And I said, if I had published enough, you wouldn't have had from me this experience of running the kind of studio you want me to run, which is an interdisciplinary studio. By the time I did the Las Vegas one, I'd been involved in about 8 or 10 studios, starting at Wits and going through the AA, and then through my learning at Wits, and then my teaching at Wits. So I'd had many years of experience, and I knew the way I wanted to go with studios. And then I wrote one for Bob and Kingman Brewster at Yale, which set out all the work projects and things. I'd done the same thing at Penn for another strip. And so I knew what I wanted to do. But I wrote that article partly because they said I hadn't published enough. So I think I wrote it in a day. And then I didn't publish it because by that time people were beginning to tell me that my standing up for myself as a woman, and I wrote it in 1972, my standing up for myself as a woman and saying I'd now being alongside a guru who I helped to make a guru. Those 5 years, it was his work and mine, all attributed to him. I said, when I start complaining, architects get furious. And they say, we're tired of hearing all this from Denise Scott Brown, you see. And Philip Johnson was one of the main ones. Yeah. And I wrote an article about him. Tucker, what's his name? Carl Tucker asked me to write it for the New York Review, I think it was called, which he then owned. And it caused a catastrophe in Philip Johnson's office. He was very scared of the things I said. I nearly reviewed a book and quoted what he said.
But I think it's quite a balanced article on him. You could have really put the knife in, but yes, I think exactly. It actually gets a very nuanced view of him.
I said that too, but not him.
Yeah. So well, he's probably only used to universal praise, as many men. But in terms of the article, Sexism and the Star System, you talk about a very entrenched sexism in the profession, which has led to your being written out as some aspect of history.
Yes, and I tried to psychoanalyze it to work out why it's done this way, and I tried to produce a balanced view of it. But I didn't publish it in 1972. It was just too dangerous for our new firm. And so when I did publish it, it still created an outburst, but it also, they were just starting women's studies programs, and it began going into all the women's studies programs. And at that time, I went to a few of those conferences, and they were amazing wound-licking. You know, you had this experience, my God, I've had the same experience, and everyone kind of helped each other that way. And then and at that point, I also got too busy with running things in our office and running my own projects in the office, working with various other projects too. And so I really had, and we also had a child, so we had a very tough row to hoe. And I was very happy to see this RTC part like this. Now I want to talk about the Pritzker Prize, because that's when it reared its head again. And when they called Bob and said he had it, he didn't need to be told now. He said it should go to Denise too. And they said, we'll get back to you. And 2 weeks later, they got back and said, no, it won't.
You're joking.
That's what they said. They went to Philip Johnson. Philip Johnson gave himself the first Pritzker Prize. That one should have gone to Bob. 13 years before. The first one should have gone to Bob, given what he was doing in the field then and how he was turning it over. Philip fought Bob all the way. He set up other architects to praise and all of that to compete with Bob. And so we just pulled away from New York and we did our own thing and we found our own work. Everyone else was looking for work from Philip Johnson, and they had to come in under his skirts, and he called them the kids, and I think he hurt their careers. We managed, partly through me, to pull out of all of that. So that was a situation with the Pritzker. And then people came from Architects Journal to take a film of me for the same reason you are. And they were amazed to hear that I didn't get that Pritzker. They just presumed I did when Bob was given it. And I said, no. They went back and AJ did an editorial challenging the Pritzkers. The Pritzkers have fought, they say you can't rewrite history. And that's Peter Palumbo. And I say, where is his education to think I was saying you rewrite history? I was saying you comment on history. And don't historians do that? Of course they do.
But there was a very nice petition.
The petition was lovely, and now here's what I feel about the petition. It was my Pritzker Prize. Who else got 20,000 people worldwide all calling her Denise? But read beyond that, which is lovely. A young man said the best thing of all. He said, 1 + 1 is greater than 2. 1 + 1 is greater than 2. Just lovely. He said the whole thing. You could write a book about that. But at the same time, I called it Mayhew's architecture. Now, from England, you should know what I mean by Mayhew's architecture.
I don't, I'm afraid.
There was something called Mayhew's Journal, published in 1847, I think, in the middle of the Industrial Revolution. He went from borough to borough, speaking to people living in poverty. He was what we call the advocate planner now, taking down what they said and writing a journal of their accounts of their poverty, and he published it. Well, if you go through that whole petition and you read the comments of young men and young women, you will get Mayhew's account of the poverty of life at the beginning stages of architecture worldwide. My work was awarded. I just wasn't mentioned, that's all.
Yes, that's true.
But I think someone now, and I can't get anyone interested, should take up that petition and get out the parts where young people all over the world write an account of what's happening to them now in architecture at that age. Why suddenly all the women leave? You know?
Yeah. Well,
and it would really make a very, very good little book. And the best person to do it is Tom Weaver.
It's Tom Weaver. So, do you have any hope that since you wrote Sexism and the Star System almost 50 years ago, that the situations have changed?
Well, when we were given the AIA gold medal, and the secretaries there told us, for years and years and years we've had to send your submittal back because they wouldn't accept joint submittals, and we were so sad. Well, the secretaries were overjoyed, and the young people were overjoyed, and the whole atmosphere in that award ceremony really augured for a new life in architecture. And I was thrilled with that. But we'll have to see what comes of it.
That's lovely. Because I think one of the disgraces about British architecture is that you and Bob haven't been awarded the RIBA Gold Medal, which is why actually I'm so pleased that the University of Arts is giving you an honorary degree, because I think that your contribution needs to be recognised.
Well, we are very grateful too for that reason, and I've given up on the British.
You've given up, oh, well, we haven't given up on you, Denise. We will keep on barracking the RIBA to recognise what you've done.
Well, you know, while you're about it, people are changing the National Gallery in the most ununderstanding of ways, and that's a real shame.
Okay.
And that's terribly important. And you know, when we were there, Simon Sainsbury is just, he was a lover of the emotional and all of that. We'd fight, but he was just great. And Isaiah Berlin became a very good friend. And he was from Riga.
So he was a trustee?
He was a trustee.
Okay.
He shouldn't have been voting on that board. He never listened to anything. He talked all the way through, and then he said, "I'm against the window." But he was really very, very interesting. And I've since then realized that there's something of a chance that actually we are related to him.